All right.
The Person County Board of Commissioners to order at this time, and I will, if you don't mind, join me in prayer as we begin. Merciful God and Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the opportunity of being here tonight, the health and strength, and again, the opportunity to come meet together in freedom and in an effort to serve the people of Person County to the best of our knowledge and ability. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
And I ask Commissioner Palmer if he would lead us in our pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we begin the meeting tonight, before we actually begin, I'd like to mention this being February. It is Black History Month, and I think it's a good thing for all of us to acknowledge what our African American friends have done, not only in Person County, North Carolina, but our nation. And I don't think that we should neglect in any way the services they have rendered and what they have done for our country. And I would encourage you during this month, when there are opportunities, to join in some of their activities during the month again, that we take part and be involved to the extent that you feel good with, and honor them during this month. The first thing on the agenda would be discussion, adjustment, or approval of the agenda. Are there any changes, any additions, modifications? If not, a motion for approval.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. At this time in our commissioners meeting, we do have a 10-minute public comment period set aside for informal comments and questions from citizens of the county on issues other than those issues for which a public hearing has been scheduled. The time will be divided equally among those wishing to comment. It is requested that any person who wishes to address the board register with the clerk of the board prior to the meeting. Do we have any, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir, we do. We have one speaker, Mr. John Seep.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Well, last time I came, I had 4 minutes worth of stuff, and I got 2 minutes to talk. Anyway, I wanted to just make a few comments on the same topic that I talked about the last time I was here. The topic of economic development and the financial health of Person County. I believe is the most important topic before this board, probably for the whole year. I was extremely impressed with the presentation that Commissioner Gentry put together and presented. I thought that was a really solid presentation. I read the article in the Courier Times, hearing that you presented another solid presentation in front of the Economic Development Committee And I was pleased to see that you had unanimous support for your proposal. So what am I here to say? From a citizen observing it all, I was a little frustrated by seeing what looked like arm twisting by the public to get you guys to, guys and gals, and since it's Commissioner Gentry's proposal, I guess I can say guys, behind a review to make sure that we have a organization and plan that's the best that we can have for Person County and that it fits Person County. And I just wanted to say that's a little frustrating from a citizen that says, to me, asking for a task force to review something, especially prior to you getting together as a group and reviewing what you want to accomplish for the year, establishing budgets and all that. It's, to me, an obvious no-brainer, and I don't know why there was an issue. And I'm glad there wasn't with the EDC. And I think part of it was captured in the article that I read in the Courier Times because the word funding was used. But you get funding when you have a plan and it's known to be solid, and you're working that plan. People can get behind you when you have a plan. And I have been asking for one since I moved to the county. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. And that about wraps up what I wanted to say. I'm hoping that the next time that there's something that's common sense, that it doesn't appear to be such a traumatic arm twisting scenario for some of you. And I look forward to that. Guys, I look forward to your agenda item on this topic and hopefully a smoother acceptance of such commonsensical things in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And I must apologize. I did not follow Madam Clerk's orders. She asked me to remind everyone that Commissioner Perrier is quarantined and is joining us by Zoom, and I apologize. I should have said that earlier. It slipped right by my mind.
Need a cardboard cutout.
Everybody else has one, so why not do that? Item number 1 on the agenda is discussion, adjustment, and approval of the consent agenda as presented. Do we have comments, adjustments, or a motion of approval?
Motion for approval.
A motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? None. Motion carried. Item number 2, unfinished business, reviewing of the funding structure for economic development. Commissioner Gentry.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I emailed earlier, and I apologize, Heidi, you guys got this at the last minute, but there's a brief outline for the task force appointees, the recommended number on the task force mission, meetings that would be required, the duration of the task force, the board liaison, and any materials that they may need, and so we can make that public information available too. But what we'd like to do is to have, or continue to have, stakeholders in Person County. Stakeholders selected for this task force understand business. They've been active in business throughout their careers as owners or executive directors, business leaders in industry, as well as state government, and understand the stimulus needed to promote and sustain business in Person County. We've recommended a 5-member task force, every commissioner selecting a member and all the other commissioners in agreement with those members. The mission of the task force, and this is key, is to review existing public-private EDC partnerships utilized by other counties. And let me again emphasize, this is to review other programs that other counties are using, and to provide to this Board of Commissioners an economic development prototype that is best suited for Person County to increase the source of fundings, to better structure us to respond better to the economic needs in Person County. So it doesn't have to be necessarily an identical plan of some other county. It could be a prototype or a hybrid of that, that's something personal to Person County. And so that's the most important thing, is that it be something that's really going to be able to be utilized by Person County. We believe that the frequency and the time to be discussed and determined by the task force members. We do suggest a weekly meeting. I know that there's conference rooms at the public library. There's also video conferencing that's available, but minimum weekly. The duration, a 6-week time frame, but it needs to be flexible based on what the task force that these people deem might be necessary. I would like to be the board liaison for the county commissioners with the task force, and any resource materials can be provided by the commissioner or the clerk's office here. So that's in a nutshell the outline. We right now, to my knowledge, have 3 of 5 candidates confirmed. We're waiting for 2 other potential candidates to confirm that they want to be on the task force. And my understanding is that we can announce the full 5 slate of folks later this week and release a press release publicly to the public to let them know the entire makeup of the task force.
I thought we had 4. Okay, all right.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to have floor for a minute. I'd just like to say, I want to thank PJ, Commissioner Gentry, for the 2 presentations that she gave to the EDC and to our board. And also what she's presenting with us tonight is very informative. These are some of the questions that I had after the presentation that you gave, and you have answered those. As far as my questions go, you've answered them here with your report here and what our game plan is. I don't know if we need to make a motion to accept this or go forward with it, but I certainly would like to make the motion that we proceed with the task force and with what Commissioner Gentry has presented to us.
That's your choice. If you want to make that as a motion.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any discussion from anyone? Okay, along the lines of discussion on that, I've sat back and listened to what's been said by Commissioner Gentry and others for several meetings now. And I think there was some misunderstanding about what restructure meant. I might have one opinion as to what that word means, and then it appears that there are other things that restructuring might mean. I'm not opposed in any way whatsoever of a better mousetrap, if that's the term we want to use, something new, something better to improve life and working conditions here in Person County. And for those that don't know me, I've worked for that for a long time, for the people in the county, to promote the county, to enhance its business environment. That was a reason for changing the board members for EDC several years ago, that I just politically got kicked around about that, but I think that was a good decision. I think we've got people there that are business oriented and minded, and would be very capable of carrying out the wishes of this task force and this commission that you're seeking to approve here, and I'm certainly on board with that. Along with that, I think maybe a good time to say something about the message that we got late this afternoon. I didn't actually see this until 5:30, but Manager York sent out numbers related to, and these are corporate numbers, 1,217 jobs in Person County since 2011. That's 1,217 jobs from the corporate side, not counting the mom and pop shops and small business additions. And we've had those. Those were the numbers that I've been thinking all along when people talk about the loss of 400 jobs. That's an aggregate number from somewhere. I don't know exactly where. I guess it came from EDC. I don't know. But on the positive side is this number, 1,217. I think that's noteworthy, and we need to keep going in that direction. Now, does that mean that we're going to sit back and relax and not continue our efforts? Absolutely not. We don't know tomorrow. Tomorrow's an unknown. So we've got to work today to make tomorrow a better day in Person County. and improved business and industry environment. So I hope this task force will come up with something here that enhances that market in Person County and promotes it to its fullest. And I look forward to hearing from them, see what their thoughts are, how we might compare to some others. And I don't know how that task force might go about doing that, but I eagerly await and look forward to some positive outcomes from that task force.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Please.
I just want to echo what has been said and commend Commissioner Gentry for her efforts, especially with her presentation to EDC. Last week, I heard nothing but positive feedback regarding it, and I think the people of this county, once this task force has been named, will be pleasantly surprised to who the board has recruited to serve in that capacity.
Other comments? Anyone? We do have a motion on the floor. All in favor say aye.
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 None. Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Gentry. Item number 3 on the agenda is resolution of intent to exchange property. Chris Perrier and Catherine Cathy.
Good evening, Commissioners.
And
Good evening.
Person County has been approached by a third-party provider with an offer to enter into agreement that we believe to be mutually beneficial for both parties. This is great, following along the lines of what you all were just discussing on economic development. Intelleplex is seeking access to 12 strands of fiber across Person County's fiber infrastructure, which equates to approximately 627.6 strand miles of fiber. In exchange, Intelleplex is offering Person County access to 55 strands of fiber along its fiber optic network, which equates to an equal swap of 627.6 strand miles of fiber. As part of this agreement, Intelleplex has agreed to build fiber out to the Virginia border for potential cross-state connectivity, as well as to the Person County Airport. This agreement represents multiple fantastic economic development opportunities, as well as potential for broadband expansion within our county. County staff and the attorney have all reviewed the proposed exchange and recommend the commissioners to approve a public notice of its intent to accept this exchange at its next meeting as required by General Statute 160A-271. We also have Dr. Rocco DeSanto of Intelleplex available via Zoom this evening if you have any additional questions.
What's the timeline on completion? Once this is approved and moving, what's the timeline on start to finish?
So I will take that, and Dr. DeSanto, if you'd like to add on to that, essentially, some of the runs that you see listed go to schools. Those runs, Intelleplex intends to have completed within the next 4 to 6 months at the latest. All of these runs we anticipate to be done around the summer timeline. However, the agreement that we are finalizing to bring to you at your next meeting will indicate a 12-month time span from the acceptance of this agreement to requirement of delivery of product.
Is this a time that I could inject something here? In this, I'm glad to hear that Mr. Perrier has mentioned the extension of our broadband to the Virginia border. This was discussed with some Virginia entities probably a year, well, nearly 2 years ago. So the interest is there and the potential is great. If we could connect from Person County to the Virginia border then get connected. There's not a great deal of mileage there to be connected. Then we would have a direct pipeline to Washington DC and beyond. So we've got interest there, and I think it's a good time to pursue this extension up to the border and then talk to our Southern Virginia neighbors and get them on board with what's happening, move along. So I'm encouraged, Mr. Perrier, to hear that you looked that far into it because we had those discussions and they sort of got sidetracked a little bit because of some of the current events in the last year and a half, 2 years. So, but again, I like that concept and I like that idea.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, if I may also,
Sure.
there have been conversations as well with economic development. They are having conversations with entities that you were mentioning in Virginia. This is a fantastic opportunity for us to actually gain access to this fiber without actually having to put in any county capital dollars,
I
which
love
is
it.
fantastic. So it's a great opportunity, again, as well as the airport and broadband expansion across the county overall. And we are excited that this opportunity has been brought to us.
How many total miles? 627?
So those are strand miles. Essentially, you take the length of the run. So for instance, the Person County fiber network that is almost complete now is approximately 52 to 53 miles in length. You multiply that by the number of strands of fiber that they're looking for, which in their case is 12, and that equates to that 627.6 strand miles. So it's the number of strands being allocated times the distance of each individual strand.
And the value of it is almost $500,000.
Hmm?
The value of the exchange is almost $500,000.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry I did not include that. That is based on the numbers from the current IRU, the indefeasible right of use that Person County has between itself and River Street Networks, which is who we've partnered with for broadband expansion in the county. So based on their IRU of what their lease agreement is with us, is how we allocate or come up with the figure that the county manager just shared with you.
Do we have a guesstimate or an estimate on how many people will be added or have added to the connectivity potential? Once, say, a year from now, how many people, households, business, how many more people will actually be able to connect to the system?
So Person County itself is not a service provider and does not intend to be. So that would really be based on the providers who decide to either go onto our fiber network or onto this fiber network that Intelleplex is proposing.
Okay.
So I can't really say as far as that in that respect. I can tell you that our fiber does go directly around our mega site. And that is one of the huge potentials that we see in this is that Person County is uniquely situated with where our mega site is and where the fiber itself is for Person County, as well as the fiber potential coming into and out of Virginia. This opens up a lot of opportunities for that mega site for additional industries. So really the big piece of this is looking at the commercial side, but there are also some potential for residential expansion as well if those third-party providers get on board and would like to participate.
Chairman Powell,
Yes, sir.
does anybody know, do we have a line from Virginia to our border?
That fiber does not exist at this time, to my knowledge. The spot of connectivity would be, I want to say, approximately 8 miles to the north of our border into South Boston, where there is a main connection hub. The thought is that with this build, it would be a good faith effort and that we could then show to the organization in Virginia that Chairman Powell mentioned earlier that they would be willing to do the same for their side to meet us in the middle.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any further comments, thoughts? Do we have a motion? Have a motion to approve. All in, any other discussion? I'm sorry. No other discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. Item number 4 on the agenda is consideration of the Special Board of Equalization and Review. Mr. Russell Jones.
Good evening. Back in December, I was from the board talking about the schedule values for reappraisal. And during that presentation, we mentioned briefly how the board equalization and review would work for the 2021 reappraisal. And I promised to make sure y'all stayed on target. So if you decided you wanted to have a special board or did not, you would have a timely chance to do so. That's the reason I'm here today. The Board of County Commissioners decided in 2013 to have a special board, and that was following what most counties in the state were doing. Today, the last count I got was 58 counties in North Carolina use a special board. And the reason you do a special board is you can invite experts in the field to serve on that board. Many counties have found retired real estate agents or retired fee appraiser or large landowners to serve on a special board. That's the biggest reason you'd want to go to a special board. When I look out to my Board of Commissioners tonight, I notice I have Kyle Purrier, Commissioner for many years with banking experience, and we have PJ with us now who's got a real estate background. So I just wonder if the board would want to think about if they want that special board or not. If we do continue with the special board, all the members are up for reappointment. So we have no members on the board at this time. They expired in January. So regardless, we have to decide who those members will be if we keep a special board. If we decide to abolish the board, and that would bring it back to the county commissioners' control, we must do that by resolution, and we must do it no later than March 1st. If we decide to keep the special board, we would like to have the members determined by March 1st also, not because it's required, but there's some special training the Department of Revenue offers on March 11th and March 18th. It's a repeat class. It's about 2 hours long that anybody who serves on the Board of Equalization Review, whether it be the commissioners or special board, would probably want to attend. It's a Zoom meeting. It'll be pretty straightforward. A lot of good information. I've sat through some of their demonstrations before. They do a great job with it. Give you some numbers just for your consideration. Back in 2005, not our most recent, but the reappraisal before that, we had 34 appeals to the board. Fast forward 8 years when the economy was a little different. It was starting to improve, but people didn't realize it was improving. And another large county, Mecklenburg County, had just done a reappraisal and made a mess. That became front and center to a lot of people, and it was even said, well, if Mecklenburg County didn't do it right, maybe Person County didn't do it right either. So our appeals went from 34 to the board to close to 500. And 3,500 appeals to my staff. So informally, we try to work with people and try to work through all the appeals. We settled 85% of those before it got to the board level. And settling means that they brought some things to our attention that we didn't know, interior photos, comparables that they knew about, just going over the property. Some of them had no perk letters, so they never brought to us. We had some topography adjustments, but we were able, and a lot of the appeals, probably half of them were just people saying, I just want to know how much my taxes will go up. So they weren't really appealing the value, but they wanted to talk about it. So some of that is included because we don't count the ones that just wanted to talk or the ones that really had a true appeal. But we looked at 3,500, sent 500 to the board. And those 500 took about 28 meetings. And the meetings were about 3 hours. And that was a paid board. The board was reimbursed at 2 different rates. Because of the time the rates were set, the commissioners got reimbursed at $50 a meeting. And the non-commissioner members were reimbursed at $150 meetings. So it is a cost savings to bring it back to this board. I can't promise you there will be around 34 or around 500 or anywhere in between. But the more confidence the public has that we did it right, and I really truly believe we did it right, the less appeals we'll have. So with experts on the board, not saying that the other 3 don't have lot of expertise about the county values, but we do have a banker, a real estate agent, and others who have lots of knowledge about the county. Some direction, well, you want me to come back with a resolution to abolish the board, I can do that at your next meeting. Or if we want to start talking about who could serve on this board, if y'all want to keep a special board, or it'd be great if y'all want to do it yourselves. The one thing we can do just to get things rolling, when you have to open the first meeting sometime in the month of April. And we could actually, at your second meeting in April, decide to open the acceptance of appeals. So what you're saying is we'll allow you a certain time to appeal, and you can appeal in writing. So here's my appeal, or you can appeal in person. Just come in and say, I want to appeal, and write your name down. We recommend that we leave it open for about 3 or 4 weeks. So we could, at your second meeting in May, decide to close acceptance of new appeals. And that gives you a list of everybody you need to appeal. Then we can look at the ones that are going to mostly impact your budget, the ones that are high dollar properties, and we can look at those first. The goal would be to try to get as many of them done before June 30, before your budget's finally set. But that's one way you could kind of handle the workload. You could attach some of these meetings in conjunction with your June meetings, with your budget meetings. We could have them at night. It's really up to the board of how you'd like that to look. What can I give you to help you make a decision?
Here's a couple of questions here. We're talking about 2 motions here.
I don't really need a motion. I just need guidance to whether or not you want a special board or you want it to come back to this board. If you want it to come back to this board, I need instructions to bring back a resolution for you to adopt that would abolish the board. If that's not the route you're taking, then sometime before March 1st, or at the March 1st meeting at the latest, determine who will be that special board so we can sign them up for training.
Mr. Chair, I don't think we need a special board, but I would like to review the members that are on the equalization board at present and see if there are some changes that we would like to make as county commissioners to that board. And I think from listening to Mr. Jones, we just need to have that before March 1st, but maybe our next board meeting that we can put together our the people that we want to be on the equalization review board.
For clarification, Commissioner Sam, she said you do think we need a special board.
No, I said do not. We do not need a special board. What I was saying is I want to, with what we have now, the people that are on our equalization board now, I would like to review those candidates. And I think there may be some that we would like to replace and have someone else take that position.
Let me clarify one thing. If these are the members you're considering, that is the special board.
Okay.
Anybody besides the 5 of you will be a special board.
Okay.
So if you're
So it's
leaning
a special
towards,
board if we come back.
if it's not you, it's a special board. If it's anyone, if it's not you, it's not a special board.
Okay.
If it's anyone else, it's a special board,
All
someone
right.
other than the commissioners.
And all of these people their terms have expired in January.
Right.
You don't have a special board right
So-
now.
Recreating a special board.
So it's either us
It's
as county
reappointing
commissioners or
members.
it's a special board.
Right.
All right.
It's a reappointing members to the special board that already exists. That's before you.
Russell, what was the term, was it, I know once they're appointed past March 1st, they cannot be removed. You cannot reorganize that. What is the term limits for the previous ENR board?
Commissioner Pruitt, to answer your question, you can change the membership after March 1st. If someone resigned, someone decided they couldn't serve, someone moved out of county. But the terms, to answer the second part of your question, was set to be 4-year terms. And anyone that's appointed midterm would finish the existing term of the person they replaced. So everyone will serve for 4 years, then 4 more years. And that's where we are today.
But just to clarify for the new board members, if we go into after March 1st, once we decide we're continuing with the special board, it's pretty much, it's the point of no return. We cannot go back and say, oh no, we changed our mind. The Board of Commissioners want to do it ourselves, correct?
That is correct. We actually did try to abolish the special board back in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
It was in April, and we were not allowed to do so.
Basically,
So,
it's 8-year, sorry, Kyle.
so I was just clarifying for the new board members to understand that this, this is it's an important decision. So, because once it's done, some of the things that we put in place are irreversible for a number of years.
That is correct. So the special board was done by resolution. In your resolution, you had to spell out what the membership would look like. And some requirements of the special board was they would serve 4-year terms, and they had to be Person County residents. They had to be of age 21. It was several things in there. And then we also did some alternate members. So if we didn't have enough people attending or had an even number that was going to attend, we could call on some alternates. Originally, we planned for 5 members and 3 alternates. Towards the end of a reappraisal cycle, last year, for example, we had 3 or 4 or 5 appeals. So we didn't need to reappoint that 3rd alternate. So your appeal levels really are really high the first year, 2021. And then the next year you may have a dozen. The next year you may have none or 2 or 3. It goes down, especially your appeals really go down in count as the real estate market improves. If people know their property is worth more today than it was when we did our last reappraisal, they're not going to appeal. It's just the people who think the market has gone down, they continue to appeal every year.
But this actually end up being an 8-year term.
It's a full-year term, and you reappoint them for more years. Okay. It's only during a reappraisal that the workload gets big, but we could have a reappraisal in 4 years. We used to have them every 4 years when the market was changing constantly. As the market became stagnant, since it's so expensive to do a reappraisal, it was a good decision not to have one every 4 years. And we did, 2005, we did one for 8 years, and then we're at 8 years now. But before that, it's always been 4.
Now, we can also amend the resolution, keep the special board, but amend the terms. We could change it to 2 instead of 4. Is that correct?
Yes, but you have to do that before March 1st.
By March 1st. So if we decide 4 years, a 4-year term is just too long a term, we want to change it to 1 year, 2 year, and it would come recycle back to us every year. So that option is also on the table for the newer commissioners.
Yes, and you could decide if you wanted more members or less members. Of course, you could always want an odd number of members. You could decide that 2 alternates are enough and we don't need 3. Mm-hmm. We really didn't call on them a lot, but it's nice to have a bucket to call on in case you have a lot of appeals and someone out sick with a pandemic, maybe. Who knows?
Is a 5-person board sufficient?
A 5-person board did work out well. I don't see that we needed more. The members we had were very much involved and listened very well and were very attentive and took the job very serious. One member you will lose, if you look at your list, you will lose Tracy Kendrick this time, because he's no longer in Person County. So we're definitely going to lose him. But the members that we could reappoint would be Margaret Bradger, Commissioner Powell, Commissioner Pereira, David Newell, and former Commissioner Curtis Bradger. And then we need 1 more regular member and a couple alternates.
I would caution the board about having a much larger board than 5, just simply because of the requirements to meet a quorum to conduct business.
That's a very good point, Commissioner Ripper. Thank you. So most of the appeals we tried to schedule on a 15-minute rotation. So we gave about 5 minutes of the taxpayer to present their case, 5 minutes for the tax office, and then 5 minutes of the board to ask questions and make a decision. So it does move pretty quickly, but it's only 4 an hour if you stay on schedule. So you can imagine if you had to do as few as 34, you're still looking at 8 hours worth of meetings. If you had to do as many as 500, you're looking at 30 days worth of meetings. 30 days worth of half meetings. 3 hours is about all you can stand of listening to stuff. It gets dry after a while, I promise. But we do have experts on the board, so I can work with either one. It's a pleasure to present the tax office side of the appeal and go through the whole process. We'll do all we can to settle them informally. Some people just want to come to the board and they're just mad at me, don't want to talk to me. So sometimes we get them directly to you. Sometimes when they'll present and say, if they just showed us this, we would have fixed it in the first place. So we'll get through all that. The notices won't go out until probably later this month. So I won't even have an idea how the public is responding before you have to make your decision.
May I ask a question, please? What's the formal way of applying for these positions?
In the past, and this is only one time we started from scratch because they all were reappointed. At that time, one of the commissioners' idea was for each member to bring forth one name. And that's how it was established. And the idea then was if we used former commissioners, they had been through the board E&R process before. That kind of eliminated the idea of the experts in the real estate field, expert fee appraiser, or it's the large landowner. But it wasn't a bad idea by any means. Mm-hmm. So that's how we got to where we are today. Is that the right answer for the next 4 or next 2 or next 8 years? I don't know.
Thank you.
But it is a commissioner-appointed board. It's not an application process like we've had some in the past.
By your own resolution.
Right.
That is the way it's done. You can adopt a new resolution that Mr. Commissioner Pereira pointed out just a minute ago. So you could change how you want that done, but we've got to get that wording right before March 1.
So technically, each commissioner could appoint a new person to the board then, is that correct? Pretty much like we're doing the task force, everybody gets to put forth a name onto that board.
So nothing in the resolution said each commissioner member would bring a member to the table, but all the members had to be appointed by the board.
Okay.
So if y'all had a consensus that each one of you would bring a name, and as long as everybody agreed with that person would work, then that process would work. Yes, ma'am.
And we would need some alternates. I think we would need to pick.
Yeah, we
2 or
had
3
2.
alternates.
The resolution says 3, but if we do it, we don't. We can do either one we want to, 2 or 3. I think we definitely need the alternates because who knows? Commissioner Pereira couldn't even be with us here tonight. So you don't know. So
And you don't want to have people take off work, plan for their tax appeal, come to my office, and I tell them that we can't hold their appeal because we had too many members sick. We don't want that to happen. It's inconvenient for them in the first place to appeal their value. We want to make it friendly for them.
yeah, it needs to be fair, equitable, diverse. I mean, there's a lot to be considered here. So then, just the consensus is then we'll come back at next meeting with prepared to do the 5 core members and 2 to 3 alternates, whatever we decide on. That's pretty much
So I'm
okay.
hearing that we want to stay with the special board.
Yes.
And if you decide you want any changes to that resolution, as far as them having to be over 21, be a Person County resident, things like that, we could talk about it. But otherwise, the resolution stays in place like it is. And the only thing we're looking for is appoint members, hopefully before the March 11th, March 18th training by the Department of Revenue.
Okay. So no votes required, just, okay.
I'll see you next meeting.
Okay, thank you,
Russell.
Mr. Jones. That's good report. Good job. Next on the agenda is Chairman's report. I only have maybe one thing that I did want to share. I think we've all been made aware of the fact that the DOT decided with their infinite knowledge and wisdom to delay our funding for the runway extension here in Person County that we had been pretty much told we had approval to do. All of those were runway extension projects, engineering and so forth was approved in 2018, and we were going along real well with that and working toward that goal within our county and our county budget, moving along real well. And then they decided that they were going to postpone that to 2029. So I wrote letters to 21 DOT board members. Our 2 representatives, I sent emails as well as hard copies requesting their support that they honor their commitment to the county of Person for the project of extending that runway. So we'll see where that goes. I think it's sort of a cold slap in the face because, like I said, we're approaching going into 3 years of planning with this, based mainly on what the state had told us to do, and now they want to change the game. So I don't know if Manager York, if you want to, you go ahead with your report. I don't know if you want to say anything additionally about that or not.
That has been a frustrating process, as you can imagine. It has taken years to get our project to rise to the top of the priority list, and we got a small allocation of the funding for the planning stage for that project, and now are being told we have to wait 8 years to get the remaining funds. So Brenda has prepared a template letter on letterhead. If any of you would like to use that, you can, simply put your name on it and we can help facilitate getting that out. I'm not really sure what else we can do at this point. We don't have a lot of say in how DOT determines when projects receive funding, other than the process that we've already gone through, but we are figuring it couldn't hurt. So if you'd like a letter to use, come see Brenda and I, or we can help you with that. Sherry also asked me to mention that the RTRP organization is doing an elected official economic development symposium where they're bringing in some site consultants to talk to communities about how they can be more competitive. I thought that might be something y'all would like to join in. It is virtual, and it's Tuesday, February 9th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And if you'd like to attend, we need to RSVP. You can let me know. I'm happy to sign you up. I think you already signed
I'm
up,
already
Chairman.
signed up.
But
know
if
about
anybody
the
else wants to join. And that's all I had. for my
Commissioner Perrier?
Just want to thank the IT department for accommodating me. This is not a fun experience to go through. I do want to commend the health department and all of our emergency workers that are helping with this pandemic, and look forward to seeing you in person next time.
Thank you. Commissioner Sim?
Just a couple things. First, you may have mentioned the last meeting, I talked about Triple Springs and Woodsdale fire departments. They were working on negotiating using their fire truck and what have you. There's Triple Springs is having their board meeting tonight, and I expect that we will hear some information back from them in the next day or two. And hopefully our next meeting will have some information to say what is going to happen with the Woodsdale Fire District going forward. But there are some positive things that were being discussed going forward. So if everything works out, I think it's going to be a good deal for the Woodsdale residents going in the future. The other thing is that, and I don't know, I've had citizens come up to me about, we had an ordinance a while back, I think it was on junk in the yards and privacy fence being built or whatever. And I think when we looked at our ordinance, it was for public roads. And I would like for us, I don't know how we can look at not just public, but private roads. There are people who live on private roads that are several subdivisions up in there. And there are some situations that I have seen through the county that have been brought to my attention to where some of the yards are really junked up with a lot of stuff that obviously, because it's not a public road, it's not being taken care of as far as them blocking it with a privacy fence or what have you. So I was going to see if we could talk with Laura about that next meeting. I'll get with her if I need to and discuss that with her and see if there's something we can change on the wording and then bring it back up for the board for review and possibly make an amendment to that ordinance.
I'll take care of that.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Palmer?
Thank you, Derek. That's encouraging to hear Woodsdale and Triple Springs are working together now. Last Thursday, I believe it was, Heidi and I were doing some touring. And as most of you know, I live right down the street here. And she was going to check back with DOT to find out why these crosswalks are not marked. I've called numerous times to two different department heads. One's in Durham, one's in Raleigh. They're not returning my calls. I don't know if we need to, everybody jump on together as commissioners to have this addressed, but it is a public hazard out there. It needs to be addressed. These crosswalks are not marked on Long Avenue on either side. It is hazardous. You need to be a pedestrian like me and walk through that rascal. I'm encouraged again by your presentation that I went to the EDC meeting this past week, Thursday night, I believe it was.
Tuesday.
And it was well received. I think we'll do well by creating a board, a task force there. I think that's about all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Gentry.
I have nothing else, Chairman Powell. Excuse me.
Have nothing further? Good.
It's quiet.
Oh, okay. Okay, at this time, we will entertain a motion to go into closed session. A motion, I'm sorry, let me politically correct, do it right. A motion to enter into closed session per General Statute 143-318.11A6 for the purpose to discuss personnel, to consider the qualifications, competency, performance, and character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee with the following permitted to attend: county manager, clerk to the board. And at this time, I would ask all other members of the public and staff to exit the room at this time.